It seems that we've been, looking at the IPCC as a little bit of both. That the IPCC, at least in terms of public policy attention, has been not only the producers of the science, but the producers of the validation of their result. And ideally, there would be a distinctly different mechanism that says, okay, we have this robust activity, the IPCC, and this is what its published findings and process, and then we would have this review panel, which could be set up ad hoc, I suppose, and people could assess it, especially to the extent that there still are expressions of conservative views regarding the IPCC, for example. How would you bring such a review panel into existence? I mean, understand that's a partially political question, but how would you go about assessing the science level of something as big as the IPCC?
At least two ways. One is you could...
IPCC, is that the climate
Channel.
UN.
It's international.
Well, to the degree that the United Nations is international, yeah. It's the United Nations. So there are at least two ways. First is you simply impanel scientists from the natural sciences, and I'm not suggesting from the social sciences, but from the natural sciences, and you could either, first method is to say, review the data. Tell us where we are on this trajectory here. The other way is what I would prefer to do, and that is you impanel natural scientists. You don't tell them what it is they're reviewing. You're simply giving them phenomenology about what we know about cause and effect and what we don't, and what we know about correlation and what we don't. And they're left to think that this might be neuroscience, it might be whatever, and let them rate in the same way, blindly, so they don't understand the politics. Yes, sir.
The second part of this is that Congress seems to be politically enamored of the CBO. It's both sides, all sides seem to say, well, whatever the CBO says, we'll start from there. We'll start the argument from there. Mm-hmm. So they give them a lot of upfront credibility for professionals. Is there any prospect that, although you said it should be more the executive rather than the legislature that would benefit from this kind of process, is there any prospect that there could be a formally standing review panel to provide just such assessments on the state of science that's policy related?
Yeah, this ties several things together. It's a very good point. One of which is the internet is growing, and everyone can be involved in the process that you're talking about here. And yeah, there's still going to be a lot of politics, but at the end of the day, you'd think the more attractive scientific judgments would prevail. I said a few minutes ago that several things. One, avoid the lure of mechanism, avoid groupthink, avoid making political decisions, substituting those for scientific decisions. And one way that I suggested we could do that is to make it blind. You don't know what the phenomenology are. You simply know what the inputs are, what the outputs are, what are the mathematical relationships, and where's this all headed. So back to that in a second. Yes, sir.
I know this is going to sound really pedantic, but you are in a room of skeptics, so
good.
Skeptics run at the title. But in the literal, or the original and literal definition of skepticism, i.e. about 1830-ish, in the literal scientific skepticism category, I should point out category 1A doesn't really exist.
Category?
Your category 1A doesn't really exist.
Okay. Let me go back to it. Okay. So your claim is that we place the speed of light, which is a measurement, right, in this category as not being the same as category 1, which has theory under it, does not exist.
Did I mean 1 or 1A? So you're saying there is a distinction between 1 and 1A?
Yes, sir.
Sub-level. Oh,
yes,
okay.
Sir.
Category 1 doesn't exist. Sorry.
Okay, so the skeptic's claim is that category 1 does not exist.
Once again, to be really pedantic, you have the measurement problem, and basically existentialism and solipsism, but in the literal definition of skepticism and science, there is no proof. So yes, we're all starting with the problem of perception and ontology, and then moving to the measurement problem. Yeah, pretty much what a lot of people would think is category 1 shifts down a level.
The thing is you can never prove that something is not going to be in the future, right? We know now what it is, but we don't know that 1,000 years from now it won't be that. So that's, but all we can go on is what we know now in terms of our science and research.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Sure, we can get into the entire humanistic perceptual issue and speak for a long time about that. But what Category 1 is saying is as pedantic, and that is, as you're contemplating Category 1 and you're sitting on your roof, I don't want you to slide off your roof and meet F equals MA, okay? No matter what your perceptions are, I want you to be safe and happy on your roof and not encountering M times A.
Yes, and I do admit it's very pedantic, and this is why a lot of people find quote-unquote skeptics annoying, but...
Well, I agree with you in the sense that science, we need to stick on null hypothesis, right? We begin with null hypothesis. A is not related to B. Prove it. Prove that it does. And now prove that it causes B. I absolutely agree, and our claim here is that we pretty much are in touch with F equals MA. Yes, sir.
I thought you said you were going to make some statements about all available information versus best available science, and I didn't know whether you...
Oh, did I miss that one? Yeah, hang on. So the point that we make here is be careful. Alan started using best available many, many years ago, and we've tried to contribute to his thinking on this. And the point that we've come to is that you see best available a lot. Be careful for the next word. Sometimes you see best available data, sometimes best available information, and we use examples here that might not be right. Here again, we'd love to get your feedback. We think that the Endangered Species Act is based on best available data, maybe not necessarily science. But we've just made a decision that we want to save these species of animals. And that doesn't have to be a scientific decision. It might be from the heart. We just happen to like these species. So we're going to do something about it. Well, how many are we losing at what rate? What is their endangerment? So that's based on available data, we think. The Clean Water Act, on best available technology, we can define in medical terms what we mean by clean water, and we can develop the technology to support that. And then in terms of Energy Policy Act, best available science, we hope. But I just gave the case study of, well, if you really look at the numbers, the best you can do is sequestering 50% of cars and light trucks only in the United States. By 2050, India and China will be outputting more than the entire world is outputting in CO2 today. And there seems to be no divergence from that predictive model. That doesn't mean I'm saying, well, they're going to be bad so we can be bad. I'm transformed back into the, well, what is the real effect of CO2? Yeah.
Does the terminology of the taxonomy for best available science map in parallel to best available data, best available technology? In other words, if you're talking about the best available technology, you have categories similar to proven technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it might be worthwhile to see if the language maps in comfortable ways from best available science to also being applied to data technology.
No, that's a good point. And when I started my talk, I tried to emphasize that we're talking, the most important word there is available. Because in science, we want to be completely objective and open, whereas technology is a product. And there are often things about a product that we don't really understand. What is the best available product to do what it is that we're trying to do is different. And the caution that we make here is when you see best available, if you're buying our gig here, you're saying, hey, I kind of like that, I'm attracted to that. Other scientists, get Dennis the hell out of here, get another scientist to rack and stack global climate change. Then we're saying, good, we're glad that you help contribute to this whole enterprise, but don't be lured into seeing best available and knowing that, you have a comfort zone. Because it may be only best available technology, maybe something else. Yep.